Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning into our DV Talk session today. I'm Manuela Rabener. I'm one of the managing directors and partners at BCG Digital Ventures. We are the corporate innovation and digital business building arm of the Boston Consulting Group. And I'm excited to have two very special guests with me today, Lance Beare, the CEO of Pebble, and Lindsey Doe, managing director of my Ohana Childcare. Hello to both of you, and thanks for joining us.
Hi.
And for those of you who may not have heard of Pebble, it's an easy-to-use platform that enables parents to book care with trusted providers any time of day or night. And for childcare providers, it really provides an opportunity for them to call time on wasted slots, to manage staffing in a more efficient way, and ultimately to maximize revenues. And I'm a full-time mom of two little girls, so flexible childcare that fits into the schedule of busy parents is a topic that I can very much relate to. And Pebble is therefore a venture that is very close to my heart. So firstly, Lance, tell us a bit about the genesis of Pebble, where the idea came from, and the unique problem that Pebble is trying to solve.
Thanks, Stella. Yeah, so Pebble originally was a concept that was worked on between BCG DV, Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, and Koru. Koru is a venture studio that works closely with teachers. And they started by looking at the challenges faced by businesses that were offering childcare as a benefit, and how they could actually enable employees who are parents to actually utilize that benefit more effectively. During the incubation phase and the investigation phase of this particular concept, it became very clear very quickly that actually there was a lot more of an opportunity that we could unlock, because as we started to understand more about the industry, we found that existing childcare models are outdated. So there was a real challenge from the parents getting frustrated that they couldn't find appropriate childcare on sort of a short-term basis. And then for nurseries, we actually found that they operate on a 70% occupancy level, but typically their businesses are staffed to cope with 100%. So we recognized that there was a massive opportunity for us to actually help the suppliers, the nurseries, actually fill these spaces. But the problem they had is that no tools were available to them from a software perspective to actually offer and be able to track these flexible booking sessions. So they were very reliant on kind of talking to parents as they were dropping off their children. And nurseries are under quite a bit of pressure at the moment from a staffing level anyway. So we didn't want them to be taking too much time in taking those bookings. So we found that both sides kind of the marketplace actually wanted and needed a solution. So we've actually launched Pebble at almost a perfect opportunity time for us, which is that hybrid working patterns are becoming the norm, and parents' demands are shifting away from this kind of inflexible and rigid booking systems that have been in place and are offered by providers. And so Pebble is offering a solution that actually gives a 24/7 booking platform with real-time instant availability. So parents can go on and book sessions within 30 seconds, knowing that they can place their child into a site of their choice within the next day. And we've actually even seen booking patterns changing, that parents are looking and coming on and booking first thing in the morning for a slot that afternoon. So we found the problem and we're addressing the solution in using digital innovation.
Brilliant. So thanks for the overview, Lance. Maybe let's get a little bit more specific. Like how exactly does Pebble help the childcare providers adapt to the needs of parents, and what is the experience, to sign up for Pebble and basically go through the Pebble experience look like for a parent?
Sure.
What do you provide the nurseries and the parents with, basically?
Okay. Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So let's. There's a lot in there. So let's. I guess looking at the way in which we have provided the digital transformation to the supply side, we're actually allowing the industry to continue putting the child wellbeing at the top of their priority list. And that's key, because actually staff that work in the childcare industry do it because they love working with children. And what we are looking to do is reduce the admin side. So for suppliers, we provide a really simple to use booking platform. It takes less than 15 minutes on the initial setup and less than 2 minutes a day to actually keep the availability up to date. So in that respect, we're seeing some really interesting stats that we've reduced admin time for these types of ad hoc and emergency booking by about 80% across all of the sites that we've launched Pebble into. And that's made a significant difference to the way in which the nursery providers can operate. We've also seen that on the sort of parent or the guardian side, we have developed a really simple to use app. So you can go on and you can literally book on your phone anytime, of the day or night. And we've now seen a change in the booking behavior that actually 50% of the bookings made at the nurseries that are using Pebble are outside of working hours. So that's showing that parents are actually now able to book outside of the working day instead of them trying to, get through to a nursery. Yeah. And as I've already said, they don't typically get a response because the nurseries are too busy looking after the children. What we've also seen is the nurseries that have adopted Pebble have actually seen a 30% increase in the number of ad hoc bookings that they have across their nurseries. So we're actually helping them generate more revenue, but not actually increasing their operational cost and giving them more time back to the staff to look after children. One of the other things that we have found as well is that because of the platform, the parents are receiving improved service levels from nurseries. So instead of them not getting a response, they're now getting a response through the platform, and they're really engaging and using the platform because they can see the advantages of using that. And they're now moving back from to using the nurseries for their childcare provider instead of using alternate arrangements such as their family members, which of course can be done last minute, but perhaps doesn't help the child in their overall development cycle. So, and I guess finally, what we also do is provide data insights. That's something that nurseries and sort of childcare providers haven't had before. They haven't had that reporting. They haven't been able to see the patterns that are developing from these ad hoc platforms. So they're now able to manage staffing ratios more effectively, planning their rotas more effectively. And so the platform is there really providing that overall solution to the problems of ad hoc and emergency childcare.
Perfect. Thank you, Lance. It's a great description of what Pebble does. I wanted to take a bit of a step back and maybe hand it over to Lindsey. So you've been in the childcare sector for over 25 years, and obviously, over the last generation or so, a lot has changed. There are more women in the workforce. Couples generally are thinking differently about how they split their childcare responsibilities. So what do you think are the implications of that shift in behavior also on the parent side, together with the hybrid working patterns that are more and more emerging? What are the implications for the childcare sector, and how does that sector need to adapt to this new environment, basically?
Okay, thank you, Ella. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely evolved, and we've seen more shared parental leave for sure over the years, and in the last few months even more so. I'll come on to your question, Ella, if that's okay, but I think probably first it's good to share where the childcare industry is at the moment. And the pressures, Lance has touched on some of those, but the pressures that the industry is under. So there's a huge amount of staff shortages that are having, genuinely disastrous consequences on the childcare settings. In many industries, but particularly in childcare, there's reports of that staff burnout. There's increasing great talent exiting the industry. So, nurseries particularly are struggling to staff their nurseries. The rising costs of running childcare against the poor government support is well documented, but it generally is causing childcare operators a huge amount of stress, and a number have closed both during the pandemic and since and ongoing. And I think one of those reasons is that the restriction of delivering exceptional care is super hard if you don't have the right people. It's all about your people, and slowly, as we've seen, as I say, harder to recruit, harder to retain, what you've actually seen nurseries doing is restricting their numbers because they need to meet their ratios and the compliance. So actually that's subsequently hitting their income and their growth. So I think without doubt the industry needs to change. It needs to offer flexible childcare. We all know it's the way to move forward, but equally there's a number of hurdles the nurseries are up against every day in just the day-to-day operation. So I think absolutely there's no hesitation around the need to move, but I think the industry is struggling to do that because of all that they've got to overcome along the way. So in my view, Lance is saying, no, the childcare is moving to a more flexible approach. Absolutely, that's 100% what parents want. And I think for nursery operators, it's a blend. Where we've got to get to is having a blend of contracted childcare, sustainable, reliable, frequent, ongoing childcare, a bit like as we've always known. The industry needs that to sustain what we have. But I equally think, as I say, to offer parents what they need, we absolutely need having a blend of those flexible sessions as well. So coming on to what we've found, we use Pebble, and we've found that we always have additional spaces. So despite the staff shortages, the issues that we may have, we of course always have additional spaces. And that's because children go sick, equally staff do as well, but ultimately, children go sick, and we always do have, when I look at shift patterns and patterns for the children, there is always space. So it makes absolute business sense to fill those slots. And as Lance has alluded to, that sort of 70% is often where people say I'm full. They're not. There is always space to fit more children in. So coming, I guess, back to your question, how do I think the industry should adapt? For me, first and foremost, they should not shy away from fear or change. And that's what will occur at the moment. One's biggest fear is, if I put lots of spaces on the app, what happens if I get oversubscribed? There's a huge amount of fear around compliance and Ofsted, and I'm going to be over my numbers. Now, I repeatedly say to our teams, it doesn't happen, and it doesn't work like that. Parents' flexibility and the needs for flexibility varies. Not everybody needs it at the same time. And so my advice, I guess, to the nurseries, and how do you move towards change in and embracing Pebble and having flexible childcare in your nursery, is have a look at your own sickness patterns, both the sickness patterns of the children and also your colleagues' working routines, and start to add spaces to the app slowly. Don't overcommit. Add a few spaces, see how that feels, see how it goes. And you start to realize, oh, actually, everybody doesn't want the same day or the same slots. And slowly, with confidence and at your pace, start to add more spaces. So that's my first one, actually. Just remove that fear and just give it a go. And just do it on some days, but open up some bookings. The other one for me is also think about pricing. So we talk about offering this as a premium service and maybe charge more for it. But actually, what if you charge parents the same for it and you took a slight hit for the booking fee? We've actually found by doing that, you feel availability better. So parents are more willing to book through the app, and they're using it. And actually, as Lance said, it's saving us a huge amount of admin time. So that small hit we take, the chances are we wouldn't have had that booking anyway. So take a slight hit on the fee, use the staff efficiency more, and you'll fill more spaces. It just makes absolute sense. So in answer to the question is, let's try and remove those fear barriers and get the industry talking about it.
Right, thank you, Lindsey. And is there anything that you would say, was surprising for you, like, when you signed up for Pebble and you started using it? And also, is there anything that you would say is sort of your wish list, like where would you want to see it going in the future? What are, I don't know, features that you could potentially see being added in the future, or like, any other kind of, vision that you have for further digitizing childcare, making the experience better for parents, while obviously helping the childcare providers?
Absolutely. I think, as I say, flexibility for parents is a key. So I think first and foremost, as an operator of childcare, we want to do all we can for our parents. And I don't think, Pebble has created the absolute opportunity to, as I say, fill your empty spaces, but also help your working parents feel the time pressures and the issues that they have. So for me, I think the key things are how do you get people to embrace it? I think encouraging your parents onto the platform is key. it's easy. A number of nurseries will say, well, look, I can take the bookings myself. We know we can. We've been doing that a lot of years, but it's not out of hours. Again, Lance mentioned that a number of parents wait too long for that space to be resolved and therefore have to look elsewhere, which is a real shame, because for the children's benefit, it's much better that we care for them. So I think for me, the main thing and the, is let's get our own parents in our existing nurseries using it and using it really well. And then the advancement of that is that about what about their local network who might need some form of backup care on certain days? Why doesn't the nursery open and make that broader and offer spaces to children that they may not look after at the moment, but actually could become a future customer of the nursery?
Yeah, amazing. That's a very good point. And that's maybe a good point for Lance to come in again and tell us what's next on the horizon for Pebble. What are the avenues of growth and expansion that you're currently looking into?
Yeah, no, great. And Lindsey, thank you for that. I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think you've kind of summarized the pressures and the challenges in the childcare industry at the moment, and it is tough out there. And what Pebble is trying to do is actually ease some of that that burden on nurseries as we move forward. I guess looking forwards, we've got some exciting enhancements to Pebble over the next about a month or so. So we're actually going to be launching a childcare marketplace. So we won't just be now for nurseries, we're actually going to be looking at sort of childcare activity providers as well. So you'll be able to go onto Pebble and you'll be able to book activity providers. We're actually doing a soft launch in and around London during May and June, just to test it. And then we'll be broadening the sphere of influence over the course of 2022. So we're super excited about that. And we know, marketplaces have a huge impact on the way in which both the supply and the demand side can work together, and it actually breeds and gives us better competition for the industry. On top of that, I'm also really delighted to be able to announce that we are rolling out to one of the largest nursery networks in the UK as well over the next 6 months. So you'll be seeing us dotted around the UK now for your childcare requirements. So we'll be able to help you there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lance. That's very exciting to hear. We'll be looking out for the new services that you're adding. So it was great talking to you both about Pebble and more generally the developments in the childcare market. And while we've been chatting, we've had a few questions from the audience. So let's take a look and see. So I think there's one question for Lindsey. What has been the most common reaction from parents and nurseries when they hear about Pebble?
I think from our parents' point of view, it's been relief to be able to book quickly and have peace of mind that the childcare has been sorted. It's often for the next day. Even if it's for time ahead, it's the ability to know it's booked, confirmed, without waiting on the nursery managers to facilitate that request. I think for parents, that's been a big piece of the feedback. I think from our nursery manager side, it was a key piece of taking a piece of admin away from them. As we've already mentioned in the call, there's a huge amount of pressure on the industry. So anything we can do to relieve that pressure helps. So taking the having to focus on admin is not where they want to be. Childcare practitioners want to be delivering brilliant childcare, and this enables them to do that.
Perfect. And then a question for Lance. So if we fast forward 5 years, how much do you think the childcare industry will have embraced technology? Because we were just mentioning that, the industry isn't exactly a leader in terms of embracing technology right now, but it's getting there because of all the pressure. So in 5 years from now, how do you think that will have changed compared to now?
I mean, that is a great question. I think the childcare industry has to adopt and adapt to technology and the innovation that technology brings. I think if you fast forward 5 years, there will have been pressure from the demand side, the customers, to providers to say, we need this flexibility, we need the convenience, of booking platforms. We need to be able to find suppliers in our local area, which is very, very difficult to do, certainly in the UK at the moment. I think as well that as we move forwards, the demand side of a marketplace or customers within any industry are looking at personalization. What do they get from actually utilizing suppliers? And I think that we're going to see suppliers having to adapt to technology to actually help them run their businesses more effectively and more efficiently. They won't be able to actually just rely on the old working practices they have set up at the moment. And our vision really is to bring that tech to both sort of the demand and the supply side and actually empower care and activity providers to connect with anyone at any time. And that's what we're going to do. And that's where we're going to be in, I hope, in the next 5 years.
Perfect. Sounds like a great vision. And I think, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, really. But Lance, I wanted to give you a chance to also let our listeners and everybody who's dialed in basically know if they want to find out more about Pebble, where should they head? Yeah,
just straight to our website. So bookpebble.co.uk. Take you 2 minutes to register.
Perfect. And yeah, Lance and Lindsey, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in as well. And I think that's all we've got for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.